working group calls for end to budgeted corruption while advocating for immediate transfer of all devolved functions. Kenya's recent grey listing by the Financial Action Task Force due to deficiencies in combating money laundering and terrorism financing highlights the seriousness of corruption crisis and its impact in the country's economic and social development. This grey listing has significant implications for international trade, investment, and economic growth. This has further been compounded by challenges. This has further compounded the challenges facing implementation of devolution in Kenya. We have witnessed cases of increased budgeted corruption within both levels of government. This insidious practice, where funds for public services are siphoned off through inflated contracts, ghost workers, and outright theft, is crippling service delivery and undermining the very essence of devolution. The devastating consequences of rampant corruption are all too clear. Roads remain impassable, healthcare facilities lack essential medicine and equipment, and schools operate without adequate resources. These failures are not merely a logistical oversight, but they result from misappropriation of public funds intended to improve our communities' social and economic welfare. On transfer of devolved functions, budgeted corruption is not the only challenge curtailing the advancement of socioeconomic rights. The failure of the national government to transfer functions to county governments and the unwillingness of national treasury to fund them are killing the essence of devolution. We are concerned that His Excellency President William Ruto's past commitments during his swearing in September 2022 and during the devolution conference in August 2023 are yet to be fulfilled to date. We look forward to completing the process of transfer of all functions within 30 days and the attendant resources to enable the devolved units to function optimally in delivering services to citizenry. On the other hand, county governments must also focus on their constitutional functions and immediately stop spending on national government mandates while compromising the quality of devolved services. Furthermore, counties must remove MCAs from implementing development projects and eliminate unconstitutional funds like ward development funds and concentrate on their constitutional mandate of oversight, legislation, and representation. Likewise, the national government must respect the principle of devolution and cease engaging in functions that have already been devolved. Currently, we observe that national governments continue to invest in rural roads, primary healthcare facilities, both of which are under the jurisdiction of county governments. This duplication results in inefficient resource allocation and hampers service delivery at the county level. We call for clear delineation of functions to prevent redundancy and ensure effective governance. The National Treasury must ensure timely disbursement of the equitable share of nationally raised revenue to county governments as stipulated in the Public Finance Management Act without failing to avoid the disruption of service delivery. Just like it is provided for in the Public Finance Management Act, counties ought to receive their share of equitable monies by 15th of every month. National Treasury should comply. Consequently, the National Assembly must expedite the process of approval of the audited accounts to form basis for revenue sharing. These reports must be approved and must not be less than 2 years after the approval. For all this to work, we call for cooperation, coordination, and consultation between the national government and county government and all the other independent institutions involved. This can be achieved through operationalization, strengthening, and adequate financing of intergovernmental structures and forums. Thank you. In August 2023, the President directed that all functions and the attendant resources be transferred to county governments within 60 days. So even the deputy president adding voice to that process is coming too late in the day. But it's a good commitment, and we are aware that Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, IGRTC, has done the technical part of unbundling, costing, and even given advisories on how this process should go, a roadmap for transfer of this function. Already a Gazette notice was issued, I think, on 16th December last year, and what is being awaited is a detailed analysis of these services, so that we are very clear on how much counties need, additional resources counties need to get to be able to deliver these functions. But we also appreciate that this has to have a legal framework, and the Office of the Attorney General is required to table an omnibus bill that allows all these functions to be transferred. So what we would urge is that we urge the Office of the AG to do his part, but when these bills get to Parliament, both National Assembly and Senate, we urge the MPs to move with speed, just like we have seen how they have cooperated previously in terms of impeachment, in terms of appointments, political appointments. We want them to move with the highest speed possible to ensure that that law is passed, and such that 2025-26, counties get at least 272 billion more, as per the costing of the IGRTC, over and above what they're already getting to deliver these functions.
The High Court and ultimately the Supreme Court did pronounce itself very clearly on this matter, that CDF and those other funds that are operating under the ambits of MPs or members of parliament are unconstitutional. One of the reasons why these pronouncements was made was on the question of the principle of separation of powers. We cannot have members of parliament overseeing the management or running of CDF and at the same time wanting to provide effective oversight. The issue of CDF is one that has really affected the ability of members of parliament to objectively oversee legislation in this country. Because when we are discussing the division of revenue between the national and county governments, members of parliament tend to lean towards the national government because they know any reduction in the allocation to the national government will have a bearing on the allocation to CDF. So it makes them not to be objective when we are passing legislation of financial matter, because they have already a vested interest in more money remaining at the national level.
Others were started afresh. They opposed the government of the day. And I can demonstrate this also in some cases. I remember in the July 15th, I wrote to ODP and Ethics and Corruption. I was asking them that they are biased in prosecuting some cases that were clear in Siaya. And on 2nd of August, the ODP wrote back, and they wrote back through Mercy Gateru, Senior Prosecution Director, and they instructed Ethics and Corruption to move in and investigate those cases. To date, they have never responded, and tells you that because their political alignment, their political correctness, there is no likelihood that those cases will happen. And you could see areas that people are perceived not to be in the government. They are being haunted and being prosecuted and taken to court. And some of those cases are trump-up charges, while the real issues that are supposed to be taken to court are deflated because of political reason, or some people are buying themselves out of freedom so that they can be free through using public money.